Well, good evening, good evening. Apparently we are live, so I would like to welcome everybody who might be watching this very beginning bit on replay, because it takes a while for people to find us both on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And as you should see by the name below me, my name is Moira Mackey, and you may know me. I'm an executive leadership and team coach, and I help people to both get to know themselves better and to work better together. So this evening we are focusing on how to build resilience and have good mental health and nurture a growth mindset. And I've invited 3 people who have been part of my network and my community and contributing to keeping me sane in the last kind of 6 months, year and a half. So we're going to have a conversation really about what ties us together. And what ties us together is journaling. So we're going to have a conversation about what journaling means to each of us. And we're going to talk about some of the obstacles. We're going to talk about what we've discovered about ourselves. And we'd also invite you, if you come on and we are still live, then please say hi. If you haven't interacted with me before on either of the platforms, you might need to give StreamYard, which is the streaming service, permission to be able to make a comment. So otherwise they kind of protect your privacy. And if you see me looking down like I am now, I'm just checking that we are live and also checking whether I can see comments that are coming in or not. And so do say hi if you are there. I can see, for example, so it's not showing here, but I can see, oh, hang on a minute. I've just not looked at the right thing. So there are a lot of lovely people on Facebook, of which people may know. We've got Chrissy, we've got Lorraine, we've got Hillary, and we've got P.S. Nuria. So you're all online. Hi, and Sunita's just joined us as well. But I should introduce the people here. So as you can see from the names are on the screen. We've got Justin, Rosemary, and Samir, who I call Sam. Hope she doesn't mind. And I'm just gonna let each of them introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves. We don't tend to, because in our journaling community, we tend to dive straight into journaling. So sometimes people don't even know what each other does, so we may learn something tonight. So if you've got any questions, people watching, if you've got any questions, I can now see the comments because hallelujah, I've mastered the tech. Do put some comments if you've got any questions or anything. If you want to ask, make sure if you want to ask it to a particular person, that's also cool. So I'm going to start with Justin. Justin, introduce yourself, say hi.
Hi everyone, so I'm Justin Ellis. By day, I'm a community manager at Lloyds Banking Group, which is really great. And then outside of work, got a keen passion and interest in mental health and well-being, and I'm running a 12 in 12 campaign at the moment for that. And I got into journaling in the first lockdown, April, May last year, I believe.
Yeah, so we'll talk about also how we kind of met each other or knew or got involved with journaling, whatever. And the other thing to say to people who are watching, Justin is doing this 12 and 12 mental health campaign. I've done a fundraising journaling class for the campaign, but he is running 12 marathons in 12 days in August. Crazy person that he is, raising funds as well. And Justin has a podcast, so we'll make sure that in the comments somewhere we have a link to the 12 and 12 campaign and also his podcast. And obviously connect with Justin, especially if you connect with him on LinkedIn, that would be great. So thank you, Justin. I'm just going to check comments on LinkedIn, but I'm going to let Sam introduce herself. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Sam.
Hi, everyone. So I run a healthcare company that helps children with disabilities, specifically children with CP, to have a better mobility using 3D technology. So we create, my company creates 3D printed orthoses for them. That's what I do in the day. And in between, I've got 2 kids, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, who are keeping me sane and grounded. attending the journaling has, I think, made me a better parent and better able to be equipped for them. So I'm sure we can talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. When you said my kids keep me, I was wondering what words were going to follow that. So nice to know, sane and grounded. That's great. Brilliant. Thank you, Sam. All right. And last but certainly not least, Rosemary.
Well, hello everyone. My name's Rosemary. I'm a receptionist in my day job, and I'm a mum of two, 24 hours a day. I'm a lover of nice stationery and pens, so journaling's right up my street because now I actually get the chance to use some of my supplies. I came to Safari Journal at the beginning of the year in January, a little bit by chance, a little bit by fate, I think, having the results that I've had. So I'm sure as conversations go further, we'll dig deeper into what everybody's gained from it so far.
Yeah. Now, it's a lot of you that are watching on Facebook, you're part of the journaling community, because I recognize a lot of your names that you own a copy of Journal Safari, and therefore you've either been in our Facebook group or you've joined our new online community. So do say maybe in the comments if you journal already. That would be really good to know. If you do already journal, that would be fantastic. And in the meantime, what got people into journaling? Why? So Justin, you and I met because I was running a journaling class, right, online. So what made you try it? I don't know if I've ever asked you this question.
It was, completely accidental, to be honest. I tried journaling. So one of my colleagues, we were just chatting like in one of our meetings what we were doing the weekend, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to be going along to this journaling session hosted by a lady called Moira." I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Is there any chance like I could come along?" And he said he'd reach out to you, and you said yes. So I came along to that session, and we started doing the 3-minute journaling of what was on our mind, and then we started doing some crazy stuff like drawing and stuff like that. And I'm the most unartist kind. Moira's seen my drawings. I just can't draw but I soon got to realise that doesn't really matter. So that was really good. And then thanks to like resources that Moira shared, like on the Facebook, the live videos from, I think it was April last year, you went live every day on Facebook and shared those. So I went back and stalked you a bit and went over some of your pre-recordings. So that helped me kind of to build the habit and get into it in a bit more. And then of course the book came along, and that's really how I've really tried to cement the habit, just by putting it in my diary and doing it regularly, kind of thing.
Brilliant. Yes, I mean, it was you were this guest, and then it is interesting how what people can expect from it. I can see in the comments some people, someone saying they journal through art with captions. Certainly we use quite a lot of drawing, don't we, in Journal Safari, and we'll talk about that in a minute, about the difference between words and drawing and art and the different kinds of journaling. And if people are interested, obviously, like I say, questions about how it works and stuff. But it's you actually went back and watched some of the replays of the live Facebook journaling that I did, didn't you? It was really lovely to see you complete it kind of maybe, I don't know, a month after I'd done them live or something like that. Yeah,
I did, and it added that structure as well, because this was at a time when we couldn't go out, or we were allowed out for 1 hour a day. So I had a structure. I think it was about 8 p.m. in the evening where, right, that's my time, I'm going to go and journal, and it was so energizing, to be honest, I think, and calming for me. So it was amazing. So massive thank you to you, Moira.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, that was the intention, really. The intention was, oh my gosh, we're going to be locked down. What can I do that I can offer to people that I know how to do? And in fact, Edwina, who ran our masterclass in the membership last night, she had started doing free art on Facebook, and she's a friend of mine. And I was like, what can I do? I can't coach. So what is it that I know? And then I realized that actually journaling has helped me so much in times of stress. Let's see if anybody wants to turn up and do journaling online, and can I actually facilitate something where I can't see people, because being a facilitator, I'd always got to see people, and being a coach, I see people. So you know, that was a challenge from both sides. But I think I watched the first one the other day a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, I got a bit better towards the end. But yeah, so it's great to have along. Now, Sam, you were nodding when you were saying there was something about lockdown and being locked down that kind of feel like, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, I needed to go back and return and becoming a lighthouse rather than a fright house. Lockdown, having to work at home, having the children at home, needing to be homeschooled as well because they couldn't go out, all of that put together, the boundaries started to blur and it became way too thin for my liking. And then you tend to get this baggage that you don't even realize that you're carrying. And I just needed to separate the two. And that's where the fright house versus lighthouse come in. Needed to be grounded, needed to be focused, to be able, you know, to do both work and also look after my house.
Yeah. So to cope with that sort of juggling, if you like, and all of, both an intense period of change that we're not really in control of, plus all the different things that we're trying to manage in our life, working from home, having the kids at home, trying to be a teacher, trying to be everything without any prior warning or training.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't the fact that I had to work or I had to look after the kids. It was doing the both all at the same time. Once upon a time, you would travel on the train or the bus, and that took you half an hour to an hour to get to work. And then you did your work, and then you came home, and then you switched into home mode to look after the kids and whatever that needed to be looked after in the house. If you're in the house for a whole year and you had to work and do all the things and also, you know, help the kids with their schooling, it was just pulling you from all directions. I just needed a reset button.
And did journaling help? Was that part of what helped you reset?
Absolutely. There was a lot of unpacking and untangling that needed to happen. There was structure and just understanding and appreciating where you're at, and, you know, forgiving yourself as well, a big part of it. And then looking ahead and saying, okay, I know what I'm going to do now, or how I'm going to cope with this.
Yeah. And so that sounds similar to Justin in terms of that kind of a bit of structure, a bit of somebody guiding you through it. Like, even if I wasn't live, you were watching the replays, Justin, it was kind of giving you something to kind of take you through, because some of the comments I'm seeing here are about don't do it regularly. That's okay. By the way, you do not have to do it every day. I don't journal every day. But I think to get a habit, it helps, which is why I said, oh, well, you know, I created the book, Create Your Habit in 30 Days, because once you do it often enough, you can come back to it every now and then. But what, Rosemary, what about you? You were also doing some juggling in lockdown. So talk about your juggling and how you found us and journaling and all that kind of malarkey.
Well, like a lot of people, you know, we had the children at home, we had 2 adults working overnight, life suddenly changed. So for the fair part of lockdown, you know, we were just holding on and just putting in place sort of mechanisms just to get through each day and recognising the small little moments. Now, obviously, during that time, you know, then became a lot of resources available and also the time to potentially do something for myself, rather than going to work, literally bouncing back, doing things for the children, and before you know it, it's the end of the day. And I'd done some sort of research about some different things and was about to embark on a sort of coaching type program. And one of the first tasks they gave us was to journal for 7 days straight, then go on to journal for 30 days straight. And basically all the hints and tips that we got were, get yourself a lovely big book, a nice pen, sit down for 30 minutes at some point during the day and write at least 3 or 4 pages. Well, as much as I love my stationery and lovely notebooks, opening a blank page with the lines or not on it, my mind was just like, what am I going to write? because I had this sort of inner longing all my life to be a lovely diary writer every day, so I could recollect all these special moments. Or as time went on, I've heard the word journaling and what it entails, but I've never got around to do it. Can't get into that habit purely because of opening a blank page. So as a result of that, I scooted around social media and other sources of information a bit more to try and find out what journaling was. So you come up with bullet journaling and then drawing and then diary sort of style. And I thought, oh, okay, this is sort of starting to piece together. And then up popped Mara's post on Facebook, and I thought, oh, click on that, have a good read. And there was this lovely lady telling me all about this book that she'd written. So I sort of came in at the latter part of 2020 by the time you'd done some of your initial work on this project. And I thought, oh, that sounds really good, because every day this is posing a question. Bought the book, and shortly after the advert for the course come along, and I thought, do you know what? We're starting a new year. We're still in lockdown, albeit variable comings and goings. It's about time you did something for yourself. And I decided then to commit up to 6 months. It was 6 months that was taking me up to a big birthday as well. So there was lots of thoughts and reflections going on about that. Lots of things coming up within 2021 that, again, were emotional sort of times and real times of transition. So I just decided to invest in myself. And to be honest, it's the best thing I've probably ever made a choice of in my life. The value that I've got from turning up every week, seeing a group of people, first initially doing it online and Zoom, was all a bit nerve-wracking for me, because in my job role, I didn't go into a heavy Zoom world, unlike other colleagues and friends and family. So doing that regularly was something that I had to overcome, and connecting with other people. And initially I was nervous about it all because I didn't quite know what direction it was going to take us. I honestly, went in with a totally open mind, thinking we'll learn different techniques. But it's been so much richer and so much deeper in that. And, we're after 6 months really building some good friendships out of it as well. And, it's been really nice to see the growth in not only myself, but other people, from what the work with each of us have individually done, and then how we've come together as well to share it. So it's been a really good thing to do.
It's lovely to hear. Yeah, it's lovely to hear that sort of progression, and also the fear of the blank page. Although someone here, Vesna, she's saying the blank page means lots of opportunities. Actually, I'm going to show this comment because this is quite nice. That the blank page means these opportunities, and that you get excited when faced with a blank page. It's a self-discipline to do it every day. And so this conversation came about because, as people have started to mention, as Justin and Rosemary and Sam have mentioned, they're part of this journaling community, and it's a paid community, and we have live classes every week, and we have a live guest masterclass once a month. And I developed that because I realized that people had journals, but they weren't using them, or they were buying Journal Safari, my journaling book, but they still weren't kind of getting into it. And I thought, well, I'm not in the business of selling journals. I want people to learn how to journal and do this get the self-discipline and everything else. And that's what I then had this 6-month membership. And towards the end, I said to people, please, can I have a conversation? I want some feedback about how to make this membership better. I'm learning all the time. And because all 3 people here said such interesting things, I said, could you have this conversation in public, that we could just talk about what you've got out of it? So that's why we're here this evening, because each person here gave me some information individually, and I was like, they need to say that out loud, they need to share some of this stuff. And they were very kind to agree to come tonight. So Version, we can talk about that. In fact, does anybody want to speak to this about self-discipline to do it every day, or how to get into a routine? Does anybody here want to talk about what their experience is.
So I can talk around my current experience. So as I've said, like when I was like getting into it, I found it really hard to actually find a time and structure to actually do it. Whereas now, because obviously the weekly sessions are really great, but I do it first thing in the morning, because I know that's a time that works for me. So it's finding a time that works for you, and committing to it. And I think like, how many days is it to form a habit? 28 days,
Yeah.
like that. So it's just, I then stuck to it rigidly, and I had it like, I've got like some to-do list kind of notepads, and I've got one stuck to my wardrobe drawer, just saying first thing you do in the morning is journaling. And yes, the first thing I do, and I do it Monday to Friday. I don't necessarily do it at the weekend, but just building that habit. And now I just do it out of habit, really.
Yeah, you see, what you're describing is like, now I just do it out of habit, because you've done it enough times that your brain or body is getting used to it. You were also saying, I think you said in a blog post that you noticed that when you weren't doing it as regularly, you were aware that you didn't feel as great as you did when you are journaling more regularly, right?
Oh, 100%. Yes. So when I'm journaling regularly, it's just a great way to just let go of stuff and clear your mind, and also bring perspective as well. So and what's important and not important. So I often go through my journal and I think like something's important, and I didn't mention that in today's journal. So it can't be that important if you didn't mention it in your 3 minutes of what's on your mind. But yes, certainly when I've not been journaling on a daily basis or a regular basis, maybe not daily, but I do find my anxiety goes up, self-confidence sometimes, I've noticed that as well, and just things like that, really.
Yeah. Rosemary or Sam, do you want to speak to that? Or
so I'm probably the odd one here, because I haven't even started to journal, even though I've been with the group for at least 6 months, if not longer. But for me, it's not about writing down about my feelings. It's more about the reorganization of what's happening here in terms of work, in terms of home, and how to just repackage everything and then lay out in front of me, and then decide on priorities and what is going to take an emotional toll on me, and what I can do right now and what I need to let go of. So for me, it's just having that little sit down with myself. I have started to do other form of, I'm going to call it meditation, but it's really not. Cross-stitching, as an example. I bought one for my daughter, but then I started using it. And colouring as well, and just sitting there with myself, not talking to anyone, and just understanding what's happening in the brain, and then letting it out in form of colour or drawing, instead of the actual writing. I think I'm heading more towards that direction. I do remember saying to you, Moira, I'm never going to do mindfulness, when you invited me to the sessions. There we are today. So yeah, very different for me. There isn't a right and wrong way, I would say, of how do you journal. I think the bottom line is, what do you need to get out of it? There are different tools that you could use. And the most important thing that we get as a group is the guidance of how to use those tools to help you unpack whatever it is that you need to unpack to get to the other end.
Yeah, I think that's so true, right? You were nodding, both of you were nodding, Rosemary and Justin, you were both nodding. It doesn't matter what the tools are, right? Rosemary, do you want to come in?
I mean, I've done crafts and stuff for years, but at certain times in life you just don't get an opportunity to do as much. And reflecting back, I can see the mindfulness, the meditative state that I was in when I was doing them, when you could solely focus on them. But the life ebb and flows, and sometimes you just don't get those opportunities. And picking up on sort of two aspects of the last 2 points, it's like, yes, there are plenty of opportunities in a blank page, but sometimes you're stuck with preconceptions of what, for me anyway, for what journaling was. I thought it was perceived as very deep and meaningful, and had to be long, and you had to put a long period of time into it, and it's quite dedicated writing, really. But the different techniques that I've learned through on the course and reading the book is that it's 3 minutes. We do exercises that are 3 minutes. When we first started the sessions, and Mara says, okay, I'm going to set the clock for 3 minutes, where you go. And you're sort of thinking, oh, this is quite a long time, actually, isn't it? And my arm is now aching and my fingers are aching because, lots of us don't get to physically write anymore. But then now she's going, okay, 2 minutes are up. And it's like, oh, hang on, I just got to finish my last sentence so that bit makes sense. And you could go on and write for more. But it is, for me, it has been lots of knocking down preconceived ideas of what I thought it was, learning different techniques about how I can apply it. So, for example, the 3 minutes. I don't currently do it daily, but that's something that I'm going to progress towards. Having done the first 6 months, just going to give myself a little break over summer, and then in the autumn time, really try and do something for 3 minutes every day, or as many days as I can. Huge benefits, as you say. It might be a to-do list. Sometimes I find that I'm writing. Sometimes I'm being reflective about something in the past. Sometimes it's something right in this moment that just sort of comes through the pen, really. Because sometimes when I start writing, I really don't know what I'm going to write or even what I'm thinking, because there's so much going around in my head. So, it's just allowing yourself that opportunity. And a couple of other comments were saying about me time. Well, that's something that I always had a perception that me time is quite selfish time. It's not self-care, selfish time. And when you've got other people that you're looking for and you're accountable for and all that, if you've got that perception about some of these things, you're like, well, that's being really selfish, and that's not fair. So for me, it was also overcoming that hurdle and realizing that this is actually equal to me going to the hairdressers to have a haircut, because that's good for me and that's what I like, or sitting down and reading a book, or doing some form of craft, or going and walking outside. It's equal. It's not selfish time. It's things that we need to energize us again. And I think particularly through COVID, that has become more and more apparent.
Sam, do you want to come in?
No, I'm agreeing with everything that Rosemary is saying. We have been taught that you need to sacrifice your time for the good of the work, or for the good of the family, the children, the husband, the wife, whoever, whoever is not you, basically. And feeling guilty just taking that longer in the shower, feeling guilty going to do your hair, feeling guilty about taking time where no children are allowed to come into the room and speak to you about Minecraft. And it's like, it's just 30 minutes, or it's just 3 minutes, however timing that you put for yourself. And you need to restock to be able to give, otherwise you're running on empty. And then people are wondering why you're upset, or why you are not happy, or you've got a grumpy face on you. It's like, well, I need to step back a bit. I need to recharge, and then I can come and I can share with you, because then I would have made space.
Brilliant.
I'm finding a lot of the words, excuse me, the words associated with things, because when we talk about this now, we all know that it's putting boundaries in place to protect yourselves, and therefore you're a better person to other people. But if you don't understand that, and lots of the other words that we've had, unveiled to us by our writings, or Mara's interpretation on a topic that we've done in our weekly sessions or the monthly masterclasses, it's like sort of an unpacking of the words, so you understand a different meaning, not necessarily the one that you were brought up to, or what you've previously perceived as the meaning of the word.
Yeah, it's all emergent, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of people are really agreeing. There's some comments. I don't know if you can see the comments, but people like Lorraine said she thought journaling meant writing and drawing fantastic novel-worthy writing, which speaks to some of the things you were saying, Rosemary. So I'm going to ask all of you for your answer to this, which is, how would you describe journaling now. So especially kind of maybe the journaling that we're doing together, because as you say, there's a million different kinds of journaling, but how would you describe it now to someone who's never done it or hasn't joined our community? How would you describe journaling? And who wants to go first?
I could go first.
Go on.
I was thinking about this. I feel that it's a process of it, or a journey, let's say, reorganizing and restocking your feelings and also emotions, planning out your thoughts, making sense of the world around you, and having the space in your heart and mind as well to make decisions on the route that you want to take. That's how I've been taking it, and that's how I've been seeing it, the way we do journaling with you, Moira.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Sam. Who wants to jump in next?
I'll happily go. Mine's probably a lot more simplistic. Not saying that yours is complex, but it's just, for me, it's just it's just getting stuff out of your head onto paper and then making sense of it, and seeing what's important to you. And I think the making sense bit is the really important bit. I quite like what you make us do afterwards is actually rereading what we've done and underlining our feelings and emotions and what have come out and played out. So that would be kind of.
Yeah. This is also to do with the research around how journaling works. So Justin's referring to the fact that when we do the guided classes, I allow time for people to read back what they've written and start looking at, sometimes we might focus on where were you in the past, were you in the present, were you in the future, or maybe especially about your emotions, what emotions are there, what emotions have you not expressed. So it's about we know the success of journaling is two things. One, allowing us to process our emotions, and secondly, making sense of it. So both of you have already spoken to that. And Rosemary is amazing. I always think Rosemary should do my kind of marketing materials, because when we have our membership chats, Rosemary suddenly encapsulates everything. And I'm like, wow, that's the best way. So no pressure, Rosemary.
No pressure at all.
How would you describe journaling to people who might not have done it before?
I would describe it as either a doorway or a pathway when I'm reflecting back on my perspective on it, because sort of echoing exactly what Justin and Sam have said, is that you have an opportunity to get something out of your head. You don't necessarily know what it is. Sometimes it's something that's pondering, sometimes it's just something totally random. And then when you're looking back on it, you can see it for what it is. And by, as I say, reading it back, commenting on it as we do. But also I found it comparable to, sometimes you have a lot going on in your head, and then when you actually engage in a conversation with like a really good friend, and your ears hear what your brain has told you to speak and the word you're using to say, you actually hear what your thoughts are. But up until that point, they're just rattling around in your head that you can't actually quite put a meaning or a definition sometimes to them. Sounds a bit deep, but it's just, I'm comparing the journaling to like the way I've sometimes thought about things after having a conversation with a friend about something. It's that period of reflection. Another one of your senses is hearing what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
And, by reading it back or by hearing your words. So yeah, just a great pathway to delve into, really.
Yeah. So that's so Chrissy's saying she's loving that. I think hearing your thoughts. So this is the connection with my day job, or this is part of my day job, but because I'm a coach. And so the questions that I put in Journal Safari and the way that I facilitate the classes are based on coaching. It's kind of a form of self-coaching, isn't it? And then our group sessions kind of deepen that and help you do it a bit more. Lorraine's asked, is it possible to join the guided classes? Yes, it's possible to join the guided classes. If it works, I'm going to put a link to details about Journal Safari, about the book, about the membership. We've also got a free community that you can join, and then there's a paid part of the community, so I'll see if that works. Nuria is talking about, my daughter started her journal and we do it together. I'm going to put this on screen. I think the beauty journal is the way of talking with your best friend yourself. That's really lovely, isn't it? In terms of yeah. So I often say to people, do it. You can do journaling with your kids, and you can really encourage them. I think almost all of the stuff that I do in Journal Safari, you could get kids to do. I've got 2 grown-up sons now, but when I imagined when they were younger, I would definitely have done most of what's in Journal Safari. But you can get kid-specific journals. The one that I'm most a fan of, and I've got no connection to the company at all, is called the Big Life Journal. So Big Life Journal is a fantastic kids journaling for kids, and I think there's a sort of 8s and under, and then there's an older kids journal. So it's all about growth mindset and stuff. I see that I can't put the classes details into the chat from here. So Lorraine, I will just answer your comments. Oh yeah, hang on, it has actually. It's posted details of the classes. So yeah, I hope that answers. But ask any questions. This is your opportunity to ask us stuff about it. So yeah. So what about, we've gone through benefits, but why? Who do you think benefit from journaling? Who would like to answer this kind of like, who do you think should be journaling, or are there people that it's more suited to than others? You know, who's it for, this journaling stuff?
I'd say everyone.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I think some people will be more receptive to it, but I think everybody could benefit from it in some way, shape or form, even if it's just for a short period of time. Some people it'll be long term, some people it'll become a lifetime habit, but some people it might just be a short period of time.
Yes, because I know people that have journaled through bereavement, for example, or a particular point in time in their life. Justin, we've talked about the fact we can't get enough men journaling. What do you think about this? Because you're actually the only man in our paid membership at the moment, and you're very brave because you signed up for another whole year, so we can't be that scary. But what would you say to anybody who's maybe got men in their lives who think would benefit from journaling? What do you think you've got to say to guys?
To be honest, to me, it's a no-brainer. Just try it, because I've seen the benefits for myself. It's helped me relieve stress. I think it's helped me like when I've gone through periods of anxiety, so it's just been great just to let go of stuff. And and what's the worst that can happen? You can try it and it's not for you.
Yeah.
But definitely try it. And there's great resources out there. So Moira's book is a great starting point.
And there's free stuff as well on my website. So, and that's why some people might have picked it up. I'll also put some links in to the chat at the end if people want to try some stuff, if they haven't tried anything. And you can also look on my Facebook page. Most of you are accessing, I can see on LinkedIn there's a few people watching, but most of you are watching via Facebook. I've got the 30 days that I did guided classes. Like I said at the beginning, it was a bit ropey, but you can catch the later classes and there's guided stuff there. And actually that became the inspiration for the book. And so some of those exercises, the ones that I was happier with, made it into Journal Safari, the actual book. So let's have a look. Vesna, it's really odd that no more men are journaling, especially as there's so many male writers. Yeah, why not journaling as well? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So it'd be lovely. I'm on a personal mission to try and get more people journaling. I'm going to put Chrissy's comment up here. She said she loves that you cover many different forms and techniques and not just dumping on the page. Yes, Chrissy, I know, because Chrissy's also in our membership, and she's saying she's journaled for years and years and years, but had never really used her wisdom that was coming out on the page. She just kind of put it down and then left it. And I've worked with a lot of people who've done that. And then I think that's the equivalent of what Rosemary says about not listening to your thoughts. So I think that's what, going back and looking at what you've written, I think you need to do that. I think you need to listen to yourself. So that's what I, as a coach, I do. Like, if you came to me for coaching, one of the first things I do is take back what I've heard. But you can do this. You speak on the page and then you listen by reading back. So thanks, Chrissy, for pointing that out. And also different techniques. Does anybody have a favorite kind of technique here? I don't know the answer to this at all, and that'd be interesting to know. But does anyone, Justin, you started by saying you were a bit nervous about the drawing or the sketching, but the farty part of it. But do you have a favorite kind of journaling through what we do?
Yeah, I must admit, I do struggle sometimes with the drawing stuff because, as I said, because I can't draw. But that said, I've got to the understanding that when you think about it, who's it for? It's not for anyone else, it's for yourself. So as long as you can make sense of those drawings, and I do, just in case I can't later on when I look at them, I put notes underneath. So, but yeah, I do like some of the graffiti ones. I think the very first one I did, the one I turned up on a Saturday was like a graffiti wall of appreciation, and just like seeing the thought process of like when you're like put on the spot of like what makes you associate with certain things and what comes out on the page is really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I couldn't remember what we'd done when you came to that class. Graffiti walls. Yeah, because what's happening is we're trying to access our feelings and our thoughts and getting beyond the clutter or beyond our familiar story. So how are we going to be more open and receptive? So it's all the different things. Sam, Rosemary, do you have a favorite kind of thing that we do?
Definitely the exercises that we do after the 3-minute writing. It being drawing, it being talking and unpacking certain emotions, feelings, and just understanding what those.
We've lost her. She'll come back. Rosemary, while we're waiting for Sam to come back,
while we're waiting for return, I enjoy all the exercises, but I particularly like the ones where we have you ask us to talk about words and where we put them in the different situations in a diagram or how they're split up, and then taking those words and interpreting them into either things that we're reflecting on at that time or to understand them. And that's really helped me with understanding my own usage of language, and also when I'm listening to other people as well. It helps me to understand what their perspectives on something may be. So whilst it's not perhaps being fully explained, you can pick up little elements and you're like, haha, and you've got a little bit more of an insight as to perhaps what they're feeling.
Yeah. So somebody earlier in the comments, and I can't remember who, but someone said it's a bit like meditation. Journaling can be like meditation. And I'm I say, journaling's mindfulness for people that don't sit on the mats. But I think mindfulness is a nice complementary practice. But some people like Sam were saying that, she's not into mindfulness. But mindfulness is, the definition is paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Really being in the present, isn't it? And looking at the detail of where you are right here and right now, whatever sensory experience that it may be.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of the journaling as well ponders on my mind afterwards, not just after the lesson, but sometime randomly during the week. And as I've mentioned to you in our conversation tomorrow, I find I'm journaling in my head, rather than thoughts going round and perpetually getting bigger or worse or more complicated. I actually sit there and go, okay, you've got this thought, it's gone around a few times. What's actually in that thought? And then I'm sort of unpacking it through my thinking process rather than just letting it sitting there and ponder. And, I see Chrissy's comments that letters from her future self or from your future self, or to your future self as well, should I say. They're interesting perspectives as well. As you say, the wisdom and the actual certainty of what you know comes out, because I think a lot of what goes through our heads is us doubting ourselves, either directly or indirectly. And so a lot of those exercises about the letters can give you some reassurances, I think.
Great. We'll let Sam settle down. She's back now. But Justin, you were nodding vigorously. It looked like you wanted to say something, so I'm just going to check.
I was just like agreeing with the few, like, I think we did an exercise maybe a month ago, like where we reviewed like a letter we wrote to ourselves about 2 months or 3 months, and it was just so resonating how much of it it's like this is so true, this is like, and it was like really good advice, and I found that was really interesting and a really worthwhile task to do.
I'm also noticing, because this is what I do, so I notice people's body language changes when they're talking about things like this. And, you just look particularly chilled, Justin, when you're going, I read this letter back and I realized how wise I was, It's like, it's a bodily thing. It changes us, this stuff, right? If we can kind of really connect with our own wisdom. So I see it. So for people who are watching on Facebook, people come every week when it's a class. Not everybody in the membership turns up any of the weeks. So whoever turns up. And everybody arrives with their shoulders kind of like that and a little bit like that. And then over time, during the course of the class, everybody's shoulders kind of go down. And I send people into breakout groups kind of halfway, kind of for a little bit. And they can talk to each other. And when they come back, everybody's all kind of smiley and jolly. And that's kind of what journaling can do for you, is shift your mood. Even when we're talking about things like anger, or we've done stuff on envy and stuff, haven't we? We've done some hard stuff as well as.
And it's really interesting to hear other people's perspectives on it. But then there's also connections come out of it. You're not necessarily directly connected, but there's experience connections.
Yes.
Come through different threads of topics that we've covered, and that's been fascinating as well, because you realise that you're not alone, even though your perspective on the situation may not be the same. You're not alone in experiencing certain feelings or emotions.
Yeah. I think that's the feeling of not being alone. I think that was one of the things that I really wanted to make sure came out of this, because we can feel alone anyway. And especially if we're struggling with mental health, one of the things about that is that we tend to withdraw and turn inwards. And then with all of this stuff, when we're told to stay at home and duck and dive and everything else, it's like everybody's getting smaller and smaller. So it's great to hear that. Now, Sam, you were interrupted halfway through. Can you remember what you were saying? Do you want to make a different point?
I was going to blame it on the cat, but it wasn't the cat. It was my own fault for not plugging in the laptop. So we were talking about the best part of the journaling and the exercises that we are doing. And I found the physical exercises were the best part of it. And I got more out of that because you forced us out of our shells. And then we had to go discuss what we have written down or what we have drawn. I must say my drawing skills have improved dramatically, and I'm the designated illustrator at work now. But having that exercise and running through it in a safe environment, you're doing it with your tribe. When we've been saying it quite a lot, we feel like we've created our own little tribe. And yes, our experiences of the same subject might be different, but the end point or the solution, the route to get to the other side generally comes from other people talking about their experiences and you just opening up your mind to all these other possibilities.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm fine. Everybody needs a tribe or several tribes, you know, and so I'm, for people who are watching and don't know, I'm from Zimbabwe originally. And so hence all the kind of references that we've got here to Africa. But safari, and you speak Swahili, Sam, I did not realize this, but you know, safari is a Swahili word and it does just mean journey. And I felt like that was really appropriate for what journaling is. It is, which journal and the Latin root of it is daily and also like a travel. So it's traveling and it's daily and it's doing something like that. If you can do it daily, even for 3 minutes, it's a great thing. We have been talking for nearly an hour, everyone. So if anybody's watching, still watching, there are still some people watching. If you've got any questions that you want to ask any of us before we disappear, your time is now. We're a little bit on delay, so you need to be quick, because if you wait, then we'll be gone. So we're in a different time zone. You're watching on delay slightly. I just wanted to end. Well, first of all, I want to ask strongest tips for journaling from each of you. Have you got 1 or 2 tips for people that are watching? Everybody said some of it's been helpful, but has anybody got a tip? Sam, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah. Think about it like that moment that you thought to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym and there's a bazillion machines and I'm just going to do all of them because this year is going to be the year that I'm going to do the running, and then you end up in December and you have not done anything, right? Journaling, what it does, or not just journaling, but being part of the membership, is having a coach take you to the gym and tells you what machine to use. Don't use that because it's too much. You're just a beginner. Come and use this first, warm up, and then you build up your strength to go and do it by yourself. And that's what I feel how it's been running for me. So I needed help to get into it. I needed help and guidance to unpick and talk about the emotion and understand the emotions and the effect of it. Organize what's happening here and what's happening here on papers, and then reflecting and learning how to reflect, because we didn't know how to reflect. We were just, every time we reflected, we got angry and like, oh, this is a terrible person. And it's not about that. So learning all of these tips, and then you have the courage to do it by yourself at home and making time for it, and you find yourself that you're growing with it.
Lovely. So we've had Lorraine's thanking us for being informative. I'll put a comment in a minute. Thank you, Lorraine. I'm glad you are finding it helpful. She feels like we're just talking to her, which is kind of what we wanted. And Sam, thank you. Your basic, I'm going to summarize this. Your basic thing is to say you need a personal trainer. If you feel like you need a personal trainer, you need to come and join our membership. She said it. I haven't paid her to say it or anything. And I didn't know she was going to say that. I didn't know that was her tip. Chrissy's, I'm going to put Chrissy's up at the same time, which is don't judge what you write. Rosemary, what about your tip?
Just be open to what might come out. Don't judge it. Don't try and understand it. You don't have to worry if it's spelt correctly or if your writing's neat. Just let it out. Open up the lock and let it out, really. And then you can just, as Sam has mentioned, you just unpack it from there with your help and guidance through the membership, with the support of the other people and their perspectives on it in our tribe. And just be open to it.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you, Justin.
What would my advice be? Just give it a try. And don't worry if some days it feels harder than it maybe should do. Don't worry about that. Just you give it a go. And if you find you're getting stuck, just as Moira used to say, just write I'm stuck, and someone else will come up and you'll find your flow again. So yeah, that can be my tip.
Brilliant, thank you. Pam, who's online, who said she's our newest member. So she very bravely joined us. We're getting members joining all the time. The 3 people here are kind of have been joined since the early days of the membership, which started at the end of January. And Pam's just joined us, so she's looking forward to learning all of this. Yes, some people are nervous and worried about A, being on video, B, sharing stuff, talking about stuff. So before we close, does anybody want to speak to that about you? Rosemary, you mentioned briefly you were worried about Zoom, and what's your advice to people who are worried about kind of coming online or sharing stuff or things like that?
I think the thing is, if you're worried about it, obviously initially speak to yourself, when you're signing up and you've got any questions about it. But I think all of us in the membership, there's been different times when people either couldn't do it because of technology, so you couldn't show your camera or something because the internet wasn't strong enough, or we didn't want to, or even midway through a session just suddenly felt a little bit too emotional, so we just cut the picture off. So, there's a chat thing going all the time, so you can always just sort of do a polite excuse me if you would like, just feeling a bit overwhelmed or something, don't want to go on camera. We all willingly still talk to each other even if there's no picture, but just come. There was one session I arrived a bit late, so I decided not to interrupt you all, but came and I just sat and listened. It was one of the masterclasses in initiative drawing, and it was just so fascinating, just watching the people that were on camera and observing what you were doing. So it became quite a reflective thing for me as well. But I think we've all come from our different boats. We've all got different confidence levels. We've all got different levels of anxiety, emotional ups and downs. So just come. You'll be welcome whatever place you're in. And, we'll help you with the support of the technology, or, build you up to that level so you do feel confident to do it. Because the group is ever so supportive, considering we're all total strangers 6 months ago. I mean, it's not like we're in each other's pockets, but there's an awful lot of traffic on the communication levels that we've got, and people are really connecting and reaching out and supporting each other in very, very meaningful ways. So wherever you're at, there'll be someone or many people who you'll be able to connect with and support you.
I would just say from what I've got from it, when I came into it in January, I was very self-aware coming into these sessions. Whereas now I just look at it, it's a very safe space, and you share what you want to share. So if you feel like you want to share like your drawing or something or your thoughts, you can, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, that's very true. Everybody
respects that, don't they?
Yeah.
Nobody's in competition with anybody else. You're not showing off anything. Nobody's expecting anything from anyone, which is brilliant. And you come at your own pace, and then you're guided through to get to the end of the session. And we keep coming back. So
yes, you 3 have all signed up again. I think for a year. All 3 of you signed up for a year, I think. So yeah, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank everybody who's online. We could talk forever. But I was thinking I might go and have a little glass of wine on my swing seat and let go of the day and maybe do a bit of journaling. So I want to thank everybody who's joined us online. A few people on LinkedIn, but most of you on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you've got any questions, do just put them in the thread. I will get back to you and get onto that. And obviously, what our invitation is, check out the website moiramaki.com. and look at the journaling. You'll see all sorts of stuff about journaling there. You will see a pop-up that will invite you to join the community. This community is free for everyone. There's a piece that's free, and then there's a piece that's paid, which is where the classes are. And the classes are there, but so are loads of resources and all the replays. So you get access to the library of stuff that's there. If you want to do it every day, then you'd be able to do a class a day and catch up if that's what you wanted to do. But I also wanted to thank you three for coming and being so amazing and sharing your stuff. So yeah, is there anything that you want to say that haven't been said yet? This is the standard coaching question. Anything else before we leave?
Join us.
Yeah,
The tribe.
don't hesitate. Just do it. It honestly will be the best thing, best investment you could do in yourself.
Oh, bless you lot. I didn't know you were going to say this. This is great. So look, these are some of the lovely people you can meet, and it is a diverse group of people. Everybody learns, everybody comes, I think, really open, but everybody learns how different people are, but also feel similar, you know, that underneath it all, we have the same kind of emotions, and we're coming from different perspectives every day, and also our past, but then we meet in this place, and it's exciting. So thank you very much for everyone. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend when it arrives. And yeah, take care. And hopefully we shall meet some of you who've been commenting in the community. Thank you, everybody. I will just end our broadcast. Say bye to everyone.